A struggling single dad took in two unfamiliar twin girls for one night, not knowing their father was a wealthy tycoon. To the single parent out there listening, let this story be a reminder. You're not failing, you're fighting. You're courageous, not alone, and your child is blessed to have you. Your kindness, your time, your quiet strength, it all counts here. You're part of this story too. The doorbell's sharp ring sliced through the storm's howl like a blade through silence. Ethan Carter froze at his kitchen table in his modest Chicago apartment, his hand clutching a water bill stamped "Final Notice" in bold red. The microwave clock glowed 9:47 p.m. Who would knock this late, especially in this weather? Thunder roared outside, rattling the windows of his small duplex on Michigan Avenue. Ethan's pulse raced as he crept toward the door, peering through the peephole. Two figures stood huddled against the rain, young women with dark hair soaked flat, shoulders bent under the storm's weight. In this part of town, late-night visitors often spelled trouble. Ethan had learned that the hard way over the past 4 years. But something in their stance, vulnerable rather than menacing, stirred a protective instinct deep within him, a feeling tied to his own kids. He cracked the door, chains still latched. "Can I help you?" The taller woman looked up, her green eyes raw with desperation, piercing Ethan's heart. "Please, sir, we're so sorry to disturb you. Our car broke down a mile away, and we've been walking in this rain. We've knocked on every door on this block. No one will help. We just need to use your phone to call for help." Ethan studied their faces in the dim porch light. They looked no older than 24, with matching features that marked them as twins. Their wide, frightened eyes reminded him of his 9-year-old Lily when she woke from nightmares, needing her dad to chase the fears away. "We tried calling our insurance," the second twin said, her voice trembling so much Ethan could barely make out the words. "But the storms knocked out cell service, and we don't have cash for a cab or hotel. We've been walking for hours. Please, we just need help." Ethan's practical side screamed caution. He didn't know these women. They could be running a con. In his old life, in a gated Dallas community, he might have called the cops and let them handle it. But seeing them now, really seeing them, he saw his own children. Noah, now 11, living 2,000 miles away in Seattle, and Lily, 9, whose bedtime stories he told over spotty video calls twice a week. What if they were stranded, scared, and alone? What if everyone turned them away? "Hold on," Ethan said, his voice gruffer than intended. He shut the door to unlatch the chain, and when he opened it again, the storm's full force hit him, rain soaking him instantly. "Come in. Get out of this weather." The relief on the girls' faces was so overwhelming that Ethan felt his own eyes sting. "Thank you," they said in near unison, stepping into his simple living room. "Thank you so much. We thought we'd have to sleep in our car." Ethan grabbed 2 worn towels from the bathroom, trying not to feel self-conscious about their frayed edges. His duplex bore the marks of a man barely getting by. Peeling paint, a creaky heater, furniture scavenged from thrift stores. "Here, dry off," he said, handing them the towels. "I'm Ethan, by the way." "I'm Olivia," the taller twin said, taking the towel like it was a treasure. "And this is my sister, Emma. We can't thank you enough. We thought we'd freeze out there." "Where's your car now?" Ethan asked, shutting the door against the wind that seemed intent on tearing his home apart. "About a mile north on Clark Street," Emma replied, drying her dark hair. "It started making this horrible grinding noise and just stopped. We're not from around here. We were just..." She glanced at Olivia, her expression unreadable. "We were scoping out properties for a friend." Ethan caught the look but didn't pry. Clark Street wasn't exactly a hot spot for house hunting, especially for girls dressed like they belonged in a fashion ad, but he respected their privacy. Everyone had their secrets. "Clark Street's rough at night," he said gently. "You did the right thing leaving the car and looking for help." As the twins dried off, Ethan noticed details that didn't quite add up. Their soaked clothes were clearly high-end, designer blue dresses that likely cost more than his monthly rent, handcrafted leather boots, coats straight out of a luxury boutique. What were girls like these doing in his rundown corner of Chicago at nearly 10 p.m.? "Phone's in the kitchen if you want to try calling," he offered, pushing his curiosity aside. Whatever their story, their distress was real. Olivia, Tried the landline, pressing buttons with growing frustration. The storm must have knocked out the lines too, she said, shoulders slumping. Ethan felt a familiar tug in his chest, the same instinct that had once driven him to work 16-hour days to provide for his family. An instinct that had cost him everything. But tonight, it urged one thing: help them. Look, he said before he could overthink it. You can't go anywhere in this storm. The forecast says it'll rage all night. You're welcome to stay here until morning. The twins exchanged glances, their faces showing a silent debate. Trust a stranger or face the storm. Neither was ideal for two young women alone. We don't want to impose, Emma said, her voice polished with a hint of an elite upbringing. You've already done so much. You're not imposing, Ethan assured them, offering a wry smile. I've got a couch that pulls out into a bed. It's not the Four Seasons, but it's dry and warm. He paused, suddenly aware of his modest home. Though I should warn you, breakfast is slim pickings, cereal, and maybe some toast. For the first time, both girls smiled, their faces lighting up. That sounds perfect, Olivia said, her tone carrying more gratitude than politeness required. As Ethan helped them settle in, pulling sheets from his sparse linen closet, he found himself drawn into conversation. The twins were sharp and warm, their presence easing the emptiness of his home. They asked about his life, his work, the neighborhood. Normally, Ethan dodged personal questions. The wounds were too fresh. But their genuine curiosity cracked his defenses. I'm a structural engineer, he said, stirring hot chocolate with the last of his cocoa. Well, I was. Now I do freelance CAD work when I can get it. That's incredible, Emma said, cradling a steaming mug on his lumpy couch. What kind of projects did you work on? Ethan's throat tightened as memories surged. Mostly industrial, warehouses, factories. I had my own firm once. He didn't mention how that firm had consumed him, how his drive for success had blinded him to his family. What happened? Olivia asked softly, then winced. Sorry, that's too personal. You don't have to answer. It's fine, Ethan said, surprised by his own openness. The storm outside seemed to cocoon them in a space where confessions felt safe. My life fell apart 4 years ago. Divorce, business tanked. Sold everything to cover legal fees. He considered stopping, but their compassionate eyes urged him on. I've got 2 kids, he said quietly, the words raw. Noah's 11, Lily's 9. They live with their mom in Seattle. The twins' faces softened further. That must be so tough, Emma said gently, being so far from them. Emotion hit Ethan like the storm outside, blurring his vision. Yeah, it is. I call them twice a week, but it's not the same. I miss their games, their school events, bedtime stories. Last week, Lily got her first library card, and I heard about it days later in a quick call. His voice broke, and he turned away, embarrassed to unravel in front of strangers. What happened with your wife? Olivia asked with delicate care. Ethan took a shaky breath. Clara said I was never there, that I cared more about my firm than making memories with my family. She wasn't wrong. I thought I was building their future, but I missed their present. By the time I saw it, it was too late. His pain filled the room, mingling with the rain's rhythm against the windows. She moved to Seattle for a fresh start, he continued, wiping his eyes. The court gave her primary custody. I see Noah and Lily summers and some holidays when I can afford the flight. How often is that? Emma asked, her eyes glistening. This year might be the first time I missed summer, Ethan admitted, barely audible. Work's been scarce, and legal fees drain me. I'm trying to save, but he gestured at the stack of bills on the table. The twins listened with an empathy that seemed beyond their years, asking thoughtful questions and sharing bits of their own childhood. Slowly, Ethan's constant loneliness began to lift. You know what stands out about your story? Olivia said after a quiet pause. You're still fighting for them. Even after everything crashed, you're still trying to be their dad. They're my everything, Ethan said simply. Even if I'm not with them daily, I want them to know their dad never stopped loving them, never stopped trying. As the night deepened, Ethan learned the twins, both 24 and recent college grads, grew up in Boston. They spoke warmly of their childhood, but were vague about their family, mentioning only that their father was in real estate and sidestepping details. Ethan didn't push. He was just a stranger offering shelter for the night. You know, Olivia said as Ethan made up the pull-out couch. We've stayed in some fancy hotels, but I've never felt as welcome as I do here. That's kind of you, Ethan replied, tucking in the sheets. But I'm sure you're just being nice about my simple place. No, really, Emma insisted, her sincerity making Ethan pause. It's not about the place, it's about the person. You let strangers in during a storm, shared your food, your home, your story. Not many would do that. I have kids, Ethan said, the truth warming his chest. If Noah and Lily were ever stranded, scared, I'd hope someone would help them. I'd pray someone would choose kindness over fear. As the twins settled in, whispering softly to each other, Ethan lay in bed, the storm's fury fading outside. For the first time in months, his home didn't feel hollow. The murmur of voices, the act of helping someone, the human connection, it brought back memories of better days filled with family laughter. He drifted to sleep thinking about kindness, the strange fate that brought these women to his door, and how small acts of compassion can feel monumental. Morning broke clear and bright, the storm leaving the world fresh. Ethan woke early, a habit from years of chasing longer days. The twins were already up, whispering urgently at the kitchen table, stopping when they saw him. Morning, he said, offering coffee in chipped mugs. Sleep okay? Better than we have in weeks, Olivia said, accepting the coffee with a smile that hinted at deeper relief. After a breakfast of toast and the last of his juice, Ethan offered to drive them to their car. They agreed, though they seemed reluctant, exchanging glances he couldn't read. In the calm Chicago morning, they were quieter than the night before. Ethan caught them studying him, as if memorizing his face. Their car, a sleek Audi with Boston plates, sat on Clark Street, looking even more out of place in daylight. Ethan checked the engine, his engineering skills kicking in. Your alternator belt's shot, he said, pointing. Easy fix, but you'll need a tow. Shouldn't cost much. The twins used Ethan's phone to call their insurance, and a tow truck arrived within an hour. As they prepared to leave, Olivia pressed a business card into Ethan's hand. If you ever need anything, she said, her green eyes bright with emotion, call this number. Ethan glanced at the card, too caught in the bittersweet goodbye to focus. Thanks, he said, pocketing it. Take care. Drive safe. As the tow truck pulled away, carrying Olivia and Emma, Ethan felt loneliness settle back like a heavy fog. The brief warmth of companionship was gone, leaving him with unpaid bills, empty rooms, and worry about seeing his kids. But something had shifted, a flicker of hope sparked by those hours of connection. For 2 weeks, Ethan dove into work with new energy, landing a small warehouse project that could cover some bills and maybe a flight to Seattle. He thought of Olivia and Emma now and then, hoping they'd made a home. The business card, forgotten in his pocket, went through the wash twice before he set it on his dresser. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, everything changed. Ethan was at his drafting table, sketching warehouse plans, when the doorbell rang. 10:30 a.m., probably a neighbor or delivery. He opened the door and froze. A man in a suit worth more than Ethan's rent stood there, flanked by Olivia and Emma. The family resemblance was unmistakable, the man radiating wealth and authority. Mr. Carter, the man said, extending a hand with a warm smile. I'm James Thornton. I believe you've met my daughters. The puzzle pieces snapped together, the designer clothes, vague answers, the business card. You're their father, Ethan whispered. I am, James said, his grip firm. And I owe you a debt I can never repay. Olivia stepped forward, eyes misty. We told him everything, Ethan. How you were the only one who helped us that night. Opened your home to strangers, showed kindness despite having so little. Dad wanted to come sooner, Emma added, but we asked him to wait. We needed to be sure about something. Ethan's head spun. Sure about what? James's smile widened, echoing his daughter's warmth. My girls are excellent judges of character, Mr. Carter. They insisted on researching you, your kids, your custody situation, your financial struggles, your career. Ethan's face burned. His failures, his debts, laid bare in disgust. The humiliation stung. Please don't be upset, Emma said quickly. reading his face. "We weren't prying to hurt you. We wanted to help, like you helped us." "Help?" Ethan's voice cracked. James stepped forward, his tone kind but firm. "Mr. Carter, I'm CEO of Thornton Builders, specializing in commercial and residential projects across the Midwest. I've seen your engineering portfolio, and I'm impressed." Ethan gripped the doorframe, knees weak. "I don't understand. What I'm offering," James said, "is not charity or pity. It's business, paired with recognition of your character. We're expanding, and we need engineers who see structures as more than steel and concrete, but as dreams made real." The world slowed as James continued. "I'm offering you a senior engineer position with Thornton Builders. The salary would let you move closer to your kids in Seattle, pursue joint custody if you want, and work on projects that shape communities." Ethan's vision blurred, the offer hitting like a tidal wave. "That's impossible. You can't offer a job because your daughter stayed here one night." "You're right," James said, chuckling warmly. "That's not how business works. But I can offer a job to someone whose character has been proven. My daughter's told me about a man struggling to stay afloat, who could barely afford his own heat, yet opened his door to strangers in a storm, shared his food, his home, his story, asking nothing in return." Olivia wiped her eyes. "Dad builds more than structures, Ethan. He builds teams, communities, futures, and he's always sought people who know success means lifting others up." "We weren't stranded by chance," Emma admitted, blushing. "Well, the car did break down, but we were in your area because Dad's eyeing properties here. We've been driving to get a feel for the neighborhood." James nodded. When their car died and they knocked on doors, it became a test of the area's character. 17 houses, Mr. Carter. They knocked on 17 doors before yours. 17 families who saw them and chose not to help. Tears streamed down Ethan's face as the weight hit him. How close he'd come to being the 18th. "There's more," James said, pulling a folder from his briefcase. "Thornton Builders sponsors a scholarship fund for employees' kids. Noah and Lily would qualify for full college scholarships, plus tutoring, summer programs, whatever they need." The folder slipped from Ethan's numb hands, paper scattering. He sank onto his stoop, sobs breaking free, years of pain and hope spilling out. "Why?" he whispered. "Why do this for a stranger?" Olivia knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "You weren't a stranger when it mattered. You were family." Emma joined them, eyes wet. "Dad taught us success means nothing unless it changes lives. That night, hearing you talk about your kids, we knew you were special." James's voice thickened. "My daughters could have called me or used their cards for a hotel, but they didn't. Sometimes life places you where you need to be. That storm was more than weather, Mr. Carter. It was a chance for them to learn about kindness and for me to find someone I want on my team." Sitting on his stoop, overwhelmed, Ethan thought of the man he'd been 4 years ago. Driven, successful, blind to his crumbling family. That man might have seen Olivia and Emma as networking prospects. But the man he'd become, humbled and broken, saw 2 scared women needing help. By choosing compassion, he'd opened a door to a future he couldn't have dreamed. "One condition," James said, grinning as he helped Ethan up. "Thanksgiving's at our house this year. Olivia and Emma insist, and when they decide something, resistance is futile." Ethan laughed, the sound raw but real. "I accept the job, the chance, the dinner." He paused, looking at them. "I can't believe this is real." "It's real," Olivia said. "And Ethan, Dad's already contacted the top family law attorney in Seattle. If you want joint custody, you'll have the best support." For the first time in 4 years, Ethan let himself imagine a future, seeing Noah and Lily more than twice a year, attending their games, reading bedtime stories in person, building memories, not just structures. But more, he'd learned the power of kindness, how opening his door to others opened his heart to blessings. "You know the craziest part?" Ethan said, wiping his eyes. "I almost didn't answer the door. I was so tired, broke, drowning in my own mess. I nearly ignored the bell and went to bed." "But you didn't," Emma said softly. "When 2 strangers needed help, you chose to care. And that choice," James added, "changed everything, not just for you, but for us." My daughters learned about true character. I found an engineer to help build my legacy. And you're getting your life back. In the morning light, surrounded by the family that chose him for his kindness in his darkest hour, Ethan grasped the essence of compassion. It wasn't just about helping others. It was about staying open to grace, to possibility, to the ways kindness can transform everything. The storm had washed his old life away, making room for something new and beautiful. 6 months later, Ethan Carter stood in his new Seattle office, gazing at the skyline, planning a community center for families like his, struggling yet hopeful. In the distance, he saw the school where Noah and Lily would start in the fall, living with him half the time under a new custody agreement. His phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Dad's got a project in Denver. Guess who's lead engineer? Also, Sunday dinner. Mom's making her famous chili. You in? Ethan smiled, typing wouldn't miss it. Family dinner's everything. And it was. Because sometimes opening your door to strangers in a storm invites miracles into your life. The greatest act of faith isn't believing in tomorrow. It's believing kindness matters, that compassion can change everything, and that love always finds a way. The storm that brought Olivia and Emma Thornton to Ethan's door lasted mere hours, but the kindness he showed would ripple through generations, changing lives in ways he was only beginning to see. We're all just strangers in the storm, hoping someone will answer our knock and open the door. Did you enjoy this wonderful story? Then tell me, where are you listening from? What country or city is following this mysterious and emotional journey? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next story.